Congratulations on making it to the end of the course. We've covered a lot of topics along the way. First, you started out by learning what Linux is, what a Linux distribution is, and how to choose the right one. You also learned how to get access to a Linux system as well as a couple of different methods for installing Linux. From there, we talked about the Linux file system hierarchy and what sets it apart from other operating systems. Next, you started working at the command line. You learned how to easily navigate Linux from the command line and how to create and manage files and directories. You tackled the tough subjects of Linux permissions as well. You continued working on your command line skills by customizing your command line environment and using aliases. You learned how to get help from commands and how to use the built-in man pages. You also learned how to search for and find data on a Linux system by searching by name and in the contents of files. You learned all about input, output, redirection, and command pipelining. We talked about the various types of users found on a Linux system, including the very important superuser, also known as root. You learned about users and groups and how to manage them. You also learned how to share files and directories with others. And we even talked about switching users, running processes as others, as well as when and why to do that sort of thing. We then switched gears and focused more on Linux system administration techniques. You learned all about the Linux boot process, and you also learned where to find log files generated by Linux and how to use those to troubleshoot problems. We also talked about managing disks and file systems. You learned how to install applications and manage software too. We covered networking concepts that apply to Linux administration, including how to configure network interfaces and how to transfer files over the network and in between systems. Finally, we talked about ways to automate tasks on Linux servers. You learned about process and job management and how to schedule and automate jobs. Finally, you learned the basics of shell scripting so you can simplify complex tasks. By the way, those weren't all the topics we covered, as you very well know. Those were just a few of the highlights you learned along the way. Again, I want to congratulate you for staying the course, making it all the way to the end, covering all the material, and most importantly, improving your Linux skills.